Kayleigh McEnany, co-host of Outnumbered, former White House press secretary. And Kayleigh, you were with Trump when he lost, so he had to finish out those final weeks. Famously, people talk about January 6th. But what changes when they know you're not coming back?
Yeah, when they know you're not coming back, you're a lame duck president. And you have people who leave, you have people who talk to reporters, and we're seeing this with Joe Biden. I mean, he had a former staffer come out, which is, less surprising. You're no longer in the administration, in the wake of his comments about jailing Trump, which he clarified he meant politically. I'll leave viewers or listeners to decide about that. But there was a current administration official who told a reporter, and this is often a leak-free White House, but told a reporter that no one listens to him anymore. That's what happens when you're a lame duck president. And it's stunning because, Brian, this has been a pretty good airtight administration in terms of leaks.
Right. But, he's so bitter. Obviously, you saw at the funeral for Ethel Kennedy. He's obviously bitter that he's not there. Really is trying to put together again how he got ousted, sees that she's no longer, surging, plateaued, and maybe dipping, and thinking, why am I not there again? She's not that good. So he's having trouble processing this.
Yeah, how could you not be bitter? This is a president who began his administration with, I defeated Donald Trump. I took him down. He was meeting with historians because he wanted to be like FDR. Yeah. And he grilled historians about how he could achieve FDR-like status. He probably imagined his face on Mount Rushmore one day. And now anyone will remember the Biden presidency solely and simply as the guy who stepped aside amid mental acuity issues. That is his legacy, and he's got to be thinking, could it be different?
See, we think that second half. I think people at their dinner table and at their tailgate say, mental acuity issues, but no one says it. Yeah. No one says it. I was going to be one-termer. Maybe I should be a one. The only reason you're a one-termer is because you got ousted by Nancy Pelosi. I personally think the story is going to be they predicted everything except for that Harris would get the nomination. They wanted a jungle primary where Harris would be one of the people. Clyburn even said it on one of the Sunday shows, she should be one of the people considered. Okay, if Clyburn was saying that, well, we'll see. The other big story that came out, I believe, is on the Atlantic magazine story. John Kelly speaking out and coming out and saying basically that Donald Trump liked Hitler, and often says he wanted him, he wished he had Hitler's generals, at which time he described and said, a lot of times his generals were trying to kill him. This Atlantic story also includes someone whose daughter was killed on Fort Hood, and there's controversy there. Can you frame it out for us?
Yes. So this Atlantic story popped last night, and, I'm about to go to bed. I'm joining you on Fox and Friends, and I see it. And the headline is about exactly as you described. And it has this anecdote about the Guillen family. You noted the daughter was killed at Fort Hood. And it said that President Trump disrespected this family is the gist of it. And I look at the author, and it's Jeffrey Goldberg, and I think, oh, I know that name. That is the name of the individual who wrote the Suckers and Losers story, which happened when I was press secretary. And in hours, we gathered more than a dozen individuals who said that is not true, several who were eyewitnesses, one of which, Zach Fuentes, an aide to John Kelly, who you mentioned, said he never said suckers and losers. Also, other parts of the story were discredited with contemporaneous documents I brought to the podium. So this is the individual who peddles anonymous sources weeks before an election to try to affect the outcome. In my view, that's his goal. And then this Guillen story family breaks. I was in the first meeting with the Guillen family, not the second one in December he talks about, but the family was shown so much love and respect by Trump. The sister has come out and said, Donald Trump has shown me nothing but love and respect. I, in fact, voted for him today. So once again, here you have the Atlantic trying to sway an election weeks before, CBS leading with the story. It is malpractice, in my opinion.
She says, Myra Guillen, sister of Vanessa Guillen, says, I don't appreciate how you're exploiting my sister's death for politics. It's hurtful and disrespectful to the important changes she made for service members. President Trump did nothing but show respect for my family and Vanessa. In fact, I voted for President Trump. So good luck with that. They love it on CNN and MSNBC, but at least take a step back. Look at the guy's track record. You see the way he cares about people, whether it's a slain officer or it's a child. You see the empathy that he has, which they claim he doesn't possess. But General John Kelly, I guess when contacted as former chief of staff and never fond of the president, said this, cut 28.
Certainly, the former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
If he was left to his own devices, would he be a dictator if he didn't have people around him?
Oh, I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it, and not really bother too much about whether what the legalities were and whatnot.
General Kelly, your comments, because Kayleigh, you were there too.
Yes. Don't know John Kelly. He was before my time. But what I do know is the Trump presidency. It was not fascist. You could judge it for yourself. In fact, when you look at all the polling, people are fond of the Trump presidency. They remember better times. There were no new wars. There was Middle East peace. Did you see a fascist? I certainly didn't. I see another party that wants to pack the courts. I see another party that used the DOJ to go after Trump lawlessly, and pro-lifers, nonetheless, targeting that group. I see a lot of lawlessness on the other side, but I did not see that with Donald Trump.
Can everyone out there understand that every president that you read about or study wrestle with the fact that they can't get things done exactly like they want it? Through the constitutional system, through the democracy that we have, there are things that got to pass. There are things that are executive orders. There's legislation that's got to be done. Sometimes you have two Democratic houses, a House and Senate, and you're a Republican president or vice versa. And there is frustration. You always hear that. The Democratic president talking to a dictator like the president of China or the leader of Russia, and they'll say, I'm going to see if I can get this done. I don't know if I can get it done. I don't know if I can get that treaty ratified. That doesn't mean he wants to be a dictator. It means what Kelly just said. He came from a world for 50 years where it was a family business, like a huge one, but he just basically talked to his friends and family about executing his vision. Obviously, this is something that he needed some adjusting. I don't think it means he wants to be Mussolini.
Yeah, I saw a former cabinet secretary of Donald Trump's last week, and he was giving a talk, and I was listening to the talk, and he said something to the effect of private sector mentality is not rewarded in federal government. If anything, people are hesitant to bring that to federal government because what happens is you end up having, an inspector general on you. There's all kinds of investigations because you're trying to do something different, and it upsets the career politicians. It upsets the career bureaucrats. Donald Trump came in with a new and a fresh way of thinking. It upset a lot of people, upset the bureaucrats, upset some of the generals. But what did you get? You got economic prosperity and you got peace around the world. The private sector mentality worked. But to your point, Brian, there are a lot of people who don't get that. And I guess you can't fault them because they've been doing this their whole life a certain way, but it worked.
So Anderson Cooper needed a lead. So John Kelly provided it. And here it is, cut 30.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So he went on to say, Hitler's generals kept trying to kill him, so they'd have private conversations, and Hitler did some good things. That, according to him, he said, he brings that out now. Why would you bring that out now, 13 days before an election, when all of a sudden the former president is surging?
Yeah, I never heard him say anything like that. Never, ever, ever in my hundreds of interactions. I don't know why. Look, but I know President Trump, to my point, did things differently. He called Kim Jong-un Rocket Man on Twitter. I'm sure the generals probably were a little apprehensive about that, but look what it did.
Never wanted him to meet one-on-one with him.
Exactly. He would pick up the phone and he would talk to Putin. Biden hasn't done that. And there's a colorable argument. Ukraine wouldn't have happened if there would have been a second term because Donald Trump maintained relationships with both foes and friends. And it worked. And you didn't have Russia redrawing the map and invading a sovereign country. I don't think you would have seen October 7th. I think right now we'd be sitting here with a Saudi Arabia Middle East peace deal and Iran totally iced out in the Middle East. But the way Donald Trump got there was upsetting to a lot of people. The Rocket Man, the back and forth. This is unconventional, but maybe you need a little unconventional.
Kayleigh, in your estimation, being that you've been on every side of it, you've been a commentator, now you're an anchor, you've been an insider, and then you also have been working for campaigns. And you also know Trump. Can this move the needle on the few people that are undecided?
Absolutely not. I don't think so. Look, there are independent Nikki Haley voters. Yes, that can be moved. But I think what you are going to see based on the reporting that I've noticed is that Nikki Haley is going to come out, in my estimation, and make a powerful argument on behalf of Donald Trump. I think you'll see them on the campaign together. There is no one who could bat down an argument better than Nikki Haley, who sat at the UN, who observed Donald Trump day to day. And I believe, no inside sourcing here, but I believe she's going to do that. And I think it's going to be very powerful.
Would it be on MSG on Sunday?
Oh, well, first of all, Brian, I never question your political instincts because you predicted what happened this week, last week. And I think you just predicted what's going to happen next week, this week.
Well, I mean, it would be interesting because at first you might be like, well, that's the rival of Trump. Will she be booed? But she wasn't. She was greeted nicely at the RNC. And you might say, just to button it up, the rest of the Republicans, what do they say? 8% or 10% are not voting for Trump Republicans, less than that for Democrats. So would that be a good place to come out? I asked him, and you'll hear this next hour, are you doing this on the 27th as a New Yorker to culminate 3 campaigns and the end of campaigning for an office? And he said, I never thought about it. But for New Yorkers, and I think around the country, MSG is something special. It's an iconic building. It's called the Mecca. It means a lot to a guy that sat in the front row and watched the Knicks and Rangers and Billy Joel for years.
Yeah, it's very smart. Look, when Trump makes a stop that doesn't make sense in that it's not in a swing state, it does make sense nationally. Aurora, Colorado, there was a specific immigration reason he was there. Coachella has, a lot of pop culture pizzazz to it. MSG has a certain notoriety. And I think you're going to see networks cover it, and it gets social media traction in a way that maybe one stop in Wisconsin would not. I think in hindsight, these are pretty brilliant. I can't speak for Kamala going to Texas and Tim Walz going to Kentucky, though.
Does it surprise you that in 3 hours they had the invitations? MSG was sold out.
Not surprising in the slightest. There's a lot of pent-up energy here for Trump. I've seen Trump signs in places you wouldn't think you'd see him around the New York metro area. Not surprised that pent-up energy was channeled into a swamping of Madison Square Garden.
You went for 3 hours with me to 20 minutes with me.
Yes.
But you, in 2.5 hours, are going to be doing Outnumbered. Do you have any idea what's on your show?
I have.
Because you probably had no time to study.
I talked to my producer in the middle of your show, and now I get avocado toast at the little Fox Cafe.
Oh, you do?
And
really?
I go prep for Outnumbered, and I'll be ready to go, Brian. I'm always ahead of the game.
Well, that's true, because carbs on the day of the game. Correct?
Absolutely.
Because they're easy to burn.
I mean, I didn't do the bagel. I could have done the bagel. At least it's got a little avocado spread on top, so that nullifies the carbs.
So you know what you killed me? For the longest time, I said, give me an everything flat, right?
Ooh, that's good.
Right. But then they said to me, Brian, you're not saving anything because you still are eating the same amount. They just crush it. But you are smart. You should get it scooped, right? Or...
Yes, you
not having it all.
Yours is geometrically different, but not nutritionally different. But yeah, when I go to Potbelly, I have it scooped. So that is nutritionally different.
Understood.
Yeah.
Kayleigh, I know you're sick of me. You get to go now.
Never sick of me, Brian.
Thank you very much. Kayleigh McEnany. Multiple stories. We could have went 25 different directions. Exciting time. Don't move. Brian Kilmeade. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.